tech community is an amazing, awesome group of weirdos that I am proud to call my friend, but like my friends, sometimes they are quick to anger. And in that spirit, get ready to be pissed. I'm about to drop more verses than Kanye. I'm gonna battle the behemoths, get your rage faces on. It's a fight of the flagships with the unnecessarily long names, the big brother battle, so let's make like a courtroom. Whew, and put Apple against Google. This is the iPhone XS Max versus the Pixel 3 XL. And oh yeah, no cop-outs. There will be a winner. And if you are a fan of either of these, be sure to subscribe. Giveaways are coming super soon. So the idea here is simple. If both of these phones are on a table and I could pick only one, which one would it be? Beautygate, Scratchgate, Notchgate, Sungate. I made that last one up. These phones did not necessarily come out of the gate problem-free. I can only evaluate these phones based on how they're performing right now with the current software, so if something new drops, we'll update this video. So with all of that out of the way, let's anger some people early and start with software. This is about as clear-cut a battle of Android versus iOS you can get. No third-party skin action happening. This is Android as Google intended. Well, I guess as how they intended it on the Pixel at least. iOS at this point is like an old car manufacturer trying to make itself look new with slight refreshes over the years. Apple's added some new features, sure, but iOS 12 looks way too similar to iPhone OS on the very first iPhone. The counter there though is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Apple literally sells a phone every 1/3 of a second. I may have made that up, but you get the point. People clearly don't care about iOS being stale. Thing about iOS, while it might be boring, it just works. And perhaps because it works so well, it kind of fades into the background and we start to think that it's boring in the first place. The gesture-based UI first introduced on iOS 11 for the iPhone X is super elegant. Apple's backup and restore system is low-key amazing, and of course, you know, iMessage. That's not to say it's perfect. It can still be frustrating that I can't place icons out of the grid, like if I just want an app on the bottom row above the dock, and I still can't add a direct dialog to my home screen without creating a multi-step shortcut. Customization is still crazy limited, and in all honesty, probably always will be. For me, it boils down to this. iOS does almost everything I need it to do, it just does it the way Apple wants me to do it. So Android, on the other hand, lets me do things the way that I want to. Pi on the Pixel 3 has kind of been a mixed bag. It's been more buggy than I'm used to on a Pixel device. The bugs aren't huge, for the most part. Things like the search bar accidentally overlapping with the dock, pics aren't saving, but what was a big deal was an endless boot loop that happened right after I filmed our review and forced me to do a hard reset. These issues might be isolated to me, they definitely impacted my usage. And the bugs aren't crawling though. Pi has been pretty smooth, everything you'd expect. I'm still not a huge fan of its RAM management, but I have been impressed with the granular level of customization on Android. Pretty much everything the user sees and interacts with can be customized in some way, and that is incredible and the exact polar opposite of iOS. If it didn't have all the bugs, this round could have been much different, but for software, I'm going with the iPhone XS Max. Should we do camera next? I mean, I guess it's important with these phones. If you weren't pissed yet, I got a doozy for you. Cameras are the big reason people would upgrade to either of these phones from their predecessor. We actually did a whole video comparing the two, but here are the highlights. See what I did there? Camera pun. I'll see myself out. So Apple's been pounding their chest like Russell Westbrook after a monster dunk about their smart HDR, which essentially just retains photo detail in both the highlights and the shadows. This effect can be a little too much sometimes, and to my eye, especially in dark situations, it sometimes brightens up the darker parts in a photo, while the Pixel 3 leaves them, adding a kind of a nice bit of contrast. The iPhone XS Max tend to shoot photos a little warmer, while the Pixel shoots them cooler. Pixel 3 typically has more contrast in their photos and saturation, although sometimes the sharpness can be a little too much. Photos can look a bit over-sharpened in some instances. Portrait mode is another big difference here. Pixel 3 does all of its portrait mode processing in software, cause, you know, just a single sensor. The iPhone though uses a combination of info from both lenses and software. The telephoto lens can be beneficial in a lot of these situations, giving the iPhone a slight edge in tricky situation when a person is close to the background. The Pixel does a lot of things well. Things like super zoom is pretty nice. It retains more detail than the XS, although XS can get closer to your subject. And Night Shot, as of this filming, is still not official, but on the unofficial APK, hot damn, that's like a bunch of magic. So this one would be pretty easy. You just be like, both phones take awesome pictures, so it's a tie. So let's just do that.
No cop out.
Fine. Both phones took really good looking shots, but the Pixel 3 will probably take a shot that looks better and ready to share, even if it is a little sharp and overprocessed for some. The iPhone XS may need a little bit tweaking to get it looking right. Smart HDR can be sometimes too much. If I was picking one of these to take based only on camera, I'm grabbing that sweet Pixel 3 XL. So the screen is a big one for me. No matter how good a phone is, if the screen is garbage, user experience is gonna be degraded. Fortunately, neither of these screens are bad. In fact, they're both pretty damn good, although one is better. Don't at me. On paper though, these two look almost identical. 6.5-inch OLED on the Max and a 6.3-inch OLED on the XL. And since they're OLEDs, you can guess. Blacks look super black, colors look super vibrant. Whatever you're watching or doing, they're gonna look good. The Pixel does have kind of a slight bluish hue, but it's something you're gonna forget about really quickly. So it feels good to say this, but the screens on both of these are so good, it's no longer a reason not to pick a Pixel. Try to say that one fast. If you just look at the 3XL screen on its own, you're gonna be thrilled. But if you hold it up next to the screen on the Max, you can start to see a difference. If Samsung, who actually made the XL screen, had pulled a display from the Note or Galaxy S9 supply chain, this would have been a wash. But just being made by the best doesn't actually mean it is the best. Momentum in this is swinging back to the iPhone, just not by as much as you would have thought. So while the screens are pretty good, the backs on both these phones are glass and are insanely prone to scratches, cracks, and drops. It's good form to protect your investment. We've been rolling here in the office with D-brand skins on both for protection. The amount of customization you can get is pretty awesome. I'll link to them down below, but I especially love giving our white Pixel 3 XL that camo look. It's pretty hot. So intangibles is my catch-all category, so it doesn't turn into a 17-hour odyssey ending with me just crashing on the floor in exhaustion. Like every single thing above, both these phones bring a ton of intangibles. The iPhone's got incredible design, except for Notchy McNotch Face ID, which I really dig, and wireless charging, iMessage, Apple Pay, Apple stores, which really matter if you need to repair the phones, CarPlay, IP68, great battery life, eSIM support, kind of for dual SIM action, and Apple's ecosystem, which if you're already in is really nice. I wish Apple would go for USB-C for charging, there's no headphone jack, and a 5-watt power brick in the box makes me laugh. And probably the greatest tech trick ever played on the consumer, Apple somehow made people think it's totally acceptable to pay over $1,000 for a phone. So on the other side of the aisle, the Pixel side, there's a ton to like aside from just that camera. Wireless charging is here. It's at minimum $200 less expensive than the cheapest iPhone XS Max. It's got Android Pay, Android Auto, uses USB-C, awesome battery life, unlimited cloud storage, super underrated ergonomics. On the not so good side, that notch is still deep and ugly, although you do stop noticing it after a while. The back scratches like crazy, hence the D brand. And while both phones have 4 GB of RAM, I worry about the Pixel slowing down in a few years more than I do about the iPhone, especially if you decide to keep it that long. Google also ditched a headphone jack here as well, which is just kind of sadly accepted nowadays. So the winner for intangibles comes down to what we're all working for: money. The 256 GB iPhone that I'm using is $1,250, meaning there's a $350 difference between the two that I'm using for those verses. Think about what you could do with that money. And also don't be fooled by the financing mumbo jumbo, you still end up paying the same full amount just over time. For intangibles, I'm keeping the money in my pocket and I'm going with the Pixel. So, can I just call it a tie here and move on? No, we don't do that here at Techno Buffalo. These are two well-matched phones with amazing screens, great cameras, and the latest software for their makers have to offer. But put these two phones on a table and force me to pick one, this is what I'm going with.